Welcome to this lesson in which we are going to discuss on how to draft minutes of meetings. Minutes of meetings are formal written records that capture the key discussions. I want us to underline key discussions, decisions, and actions taken during a meeting. There are generally two types of minutes: verbatim minutes and summary minutes. Verbatim minutes record every word spoken during a meeting, and summary minutes capture only the essential points, decisions, and action items. So, while verbatim minutes provide an exhaustive account, they can be time-consuming to produce and less practical for day-to-day use. For most administrative and business settings, summary minutes are preferred as they offer a concise, focused record that is easy to read and reference. This lesson will focus on drafting summary minutes, ensuring that administrative assistants can capably document meetings and maintain professionalism while prioritizing clarity and accountability. We have to remember that as an administrative assistant, when you're drafting any administrative document, you should always remember some key points. Be concise. Say what you're saying in the shortest way possible. You go straight to the point. You avoid jargon. Avoid unnecessary explanations that are not necessary. And when you're writing, always try as far as you can to ensure your document is read. Many people prepare documents that nobody reads, but they pride themselves of having articulated grammar very well inside, having written in big language and so on. The essential thing is for people to read your document and use it. It's not only to write and keep. When documents are voluminous, people simply skim through it and file the document, and no major action can be taken based on such documents. But when you are able to create an effective administrative document, which is short, it is concise, it goes straight to the point, that's an effective document. People will be able to take decisions and actions based on such a document. We encourage you to draft such documents. Let us see how this will look like. In preparing your minutes of meetings, the first component of our structure is the title. The title should clearly reflect the purpose or type of meeting. It should be simple, informative, and include the subject matter. The title should clearly reflect the purpose or type of meeting and should be simple, informative, and include the subject matter. The second point is the dates. So that's an example of the title of my minutes. I call it Minutes of the Budget Planning Meeting. The second point is the date, time, and venue. You have to clearly state the exact date, time, and location of the meeting. This may look like 21 October 2020, 10 a.m., Conference Room B, Headquarters. Then, lists of attendees. We need to include the names and titles of attendees. But for meetings for large meetings, the list can be included in an appendix or an annex. But we should prioritize key personnel in the minutes. We can include 1 or 2 people. Then for the agenda, we have to outline the order of discussion points or agenda items for clarity. You can either list the agenda in full or refer to it briefly. At times, I also attach my agenda as an appendix. We don't just prepare minutes, capture discussions, just say how discussions went on and so on. No, it is good to give a background to capture why that meeting was held. Let us state clearly why the meeting was held. Each and every meeting has an objective. There's a reason behind the meeting. What is the reason? State the reason. So you need to include a brief statement of the main issue or problem being addressed, which sets the context for the discussion. So we need to say exactly what prompted the meeting. The sixth point is points raised in discussion. We have to capture key points, arguments, or opinions that were expressed by participants during the discussion. I have a technique I use in catching key points. The technique is that there will be topics where the chair will give information, or the chair will call on somebody to do a presentation. Those type of points on the agenda does not come under points raised in discussion. We are not interested in that. We're interested in points that provoked opinions, in which people had their opinions. There was some sort of argument. There was some sort of discussion on it. In discussion, I expressed my view. You express your own. He or she expressed their own. Yes, those are the type of points we're interested in. Not informative. If it is informative and instructions were given, we'll capture it under instructions or action items. If it is where presentations were made and no discussion was held on such a presentation, we ignore it. That's a presentation. We can attach that presentation to our minutes if it is very important. So capture key points based on points that provoked discussions or arguments where people gave their ideas and the ideas were varied. Then we have conclusions reached. Again, you will need to have a technique. You will need a technique to be able to capture conclusions. Because there may be times when the chair will have his own opinion. Other attendees will have their opinions that are contrary to the chairman, the meeting's chairman's position. This is how you get the conclusion. The conclusion is the last thing the chairman will say. There are some people who may chair meetings and leave discussions without concluding. Such discussions will be difficult to capture the conclusions. But a chairman who is aware that minutes are being captured and his conclusion is necessary will ensure that at the end of each argument or discussion, he will conclude. His conclusion is what you capture. So what we are saying is that at the end of each argument or discussion, what the chairman says last, with respect to that topic becomes the conclusion reached. It becomes the conclusion reached. Then the next will be action items. Action items refer to specific tasks or actions or instructions that were assigned, including who is responsible for each task and the deadlines. Okay, let's check the action items I drafted for the purpose of this lesson. You see the action items. Ms. Smith to draft the revised marketing strategy by 1st November 2020. Mr. Lee to complete the budget adjustments and circulate them by October 31st. the IT department to finalize server upgrades by December 15. So those are actions, or you call them instructions that were given to these people. Then the ninth component of our minutes will be any other matters. Here you have to include any additional points that were raised but was not part of the initial agenda. If an issue was raised that was not part of the initial agenda, you're going to capture it here. And we will need now to also state the date of the next meeting if appropriate. And at the end, we are going to include signature of the secretary and the chairperson. These two people have to sign. The secretary will sign first, then below the secretary's signature, the chairman will sign. I see minutes being prepared, the secretary signing to the left and the chairman signing to the right. Though it is not wrong, but the format recommended for administrative drafting in English is for the secretary to sign, and directly below the signature of the secretary comes the signature of the chairman. It will look something like this. So we'll have prepared by David Brown, secretary, approved by John Doy, chairperson. So we'll see something like that. It's prepared by the secretary and it's approved by the chairman. Not one person signing to the right and the other signing to the left. No. So you'll be something like this. I think this is all we could handle in minutes of meetings. And by the time you're preparing minutes of meetings, it is not like you are following the agenda item by item. Like you pick an item, you say what was discussed under the item, you give the conclusions, recommendations, and maybe actions, and then you go to the next item on the agenda. You do no. You have to prepare your mind for you to draft a good minutes of meeting. You need to have a background of the meeting. You prepare your mind. At times, I have a minutes template. When an action is taken, I go under actions and I put it there. If a conclusion is reached, I go under conclusions and I put it there. If a point is being raised in discussion, I go under points raised in discussion and I put it there. So notice these three parts of my minutes. What do we have? We have points raised in discussion. We have conclusions reached. We have action items. And you must also state the problem. Tell us why the meeting was being held. Which points were raised in discussion? And we said for you to capture points raised in discussion, look for points in which people gave their opinions. And these opinions were varied. If there are presentations or just informative points, no need bringing it in points raised in discussion. Conclusions reached. You capture conclusions by looking at what the chairman says last. And action items, look for either instructions that were given to specific individuals. And this must also have timelines. Thank you very much for your minutes. And remember to prepare summary minutes. Verbatim minutes, outdated. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.